This is Orange Nation Overtime with Steve Infante and Paulie Sibilia.
Welcome into Orange Nation Overtime, everyone. Alongside Paulie Sibilia, I'm Steve Infante. We jokingly said yesterday that every day feels like Groundhog Day to us. It's the same thing over and over and over. Yesterday was very different. We had some big news in the afternoon with John Wildhack announcing his retirement, and then a very entertaining game inside the Dome last night as Syracuse wins in double overtime against Cal, 107-100. A couple of power outages, a couple of overtimes, and for once, SU caught a couple of breaks, got a few bounces go their way at the end of the game, and they come out with a win.
Yeah, the way I look at it, Steve, is they did get their bounces, but they also somehow survived the mistakes that they make in every game. Because there were a lot of boneheaded plays in this game.
There were. 17 missed free throws, a bunch of turnovers, including that JJ one at the very end of regulation that gave Cal a chance to win. And when I say bounces, Day Ames very easily could have made that shot at the end of regulation, and it's ball game, and Cal's going home with a win. The shot rims out, though. Syracuse survives the regulation, goes into overtime, and both teams had chances to get it done, and Syracuse dominated that second OT and got the win. And they put an end, at least for the moment, to this tailspin that they've been in. They were 1-6 in their previous 7 games. They desperately needed something like this, and they got it. And it was nice to see the team play with some want to and some passion. And, Adrian Autry talked about it. William Kyle in particular was not going to let them lose this game. And we haven't seen a whole lot of that the last month or so.
Yeah, and now they just need to play like this the rest of the season and hope the bounces go their way. It's a tall task, but they're going to have to go 110%. It's coach and sports speak every game and play their A game for the rest of the season.
All right. We had Adrian Autry on our Orange Nation radio show this afternoon. He joins us at 1 o'clock every Thursday. And as always, we started him off by asking for his thoughts on the previous game, which was last night's double overtime thriller, the big win over Cal.
Give a lot of credit to our guys. We were in some tough moments, and we got the stops that we needed, and guys stepped up and made plays. On both ends of the floor. I thought it was, like I said, a tough fought game. I just thought our guys showed a lot of fight and being able to stay composed, in some, tough situations. And I thought, they came out and really band together to get the win.
Can you talk about Nate King's play? He's been great the past 4 games or so.
Yeah, I think Nate, has, like you said, Paul, he's been playing really good basketball. I think we have to do a little bit more to get him more involved. He's, even to our surprise, we thought, he was more of a, shooter, but I'm starting to realize that he's more of a scorer. He can score the basketball. He can put it on the floor. He can get to the rim. He can shoot. He's been a really good surprise for us defensively, and as of late, offensively, he's a guy that has been able to attack the rim and make shots and be efficient with the attempts that he's gotten.
As long as we're talking about individual players, you know that I love the way William Kyle plays, and he was awesome last night. 15 points, but the 16 rebounds. You spoke about him in the postgame press conference that said he was he wasn't going to allow you guys to lose that game. What have you seen out of him really all season long? It seems like he just always shows up and brings his lunchbox with him and hard hat and whatever analogy you want to use, and just kind of does his job every night.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, he brings it, but last night was I think every person that's played, whether it's high school or college, that senior look, that senior moment of this is not going to happen. And he had that look last night, we're not going to lose this game. And his energy and his talk and his activity was just ferocious. And we need him to be that way down the stretch. We all have to be that way down the stretch. And, I just thought he was, like you said, he just had a will. There was a will, and he was, so it's a moment at the end of the game where he cramps up and he still goes for the loose ball and saves it. That's the type of mentality and effort we need going down the stretch.
you mentioned a senior moment. Donnie Freeman against Virginia in the first half of last night kind of had freshman moments where he was struggling, but then he took over. He stepped up big last night in the second half in the overtimes.
I thought Donnie really responded well. I thought he had a really great reset. We talk about recovery a lot. I think that's something that we've really focused on, is being able to recover from a mistake, being able to recover for something, a bad call or whatever. I thought he really recovered when he went to the bench and came back in. And as of late, like you said, late in the game, I thought he took advantage of his opportunities. I thought he let the game kind of come to him. And I thought the guys did a good job of giving him the ball. And then his activity was really good at the end on both ends of the floor.
Adrian Autry joining us here on the show, brought to you every week by Oswego County Mutual. And Coach, obviously 1-6 in your previous 7 games, and it was a win that you guys desperately needed. You get it. The way in which you did it, as you talked about, there was fight from the team there down the stretch. And for once, I said this to Paulie at the beginning of the show, for once, you got a couple of bounces going your way, right? I mean, did you need a game like this to maybe build upon? Do you think that you guys can build from this? You've still got a half a dozen games left here in the regular season. You got the ACC tournament. I know that there are tough opponents coming up, but do you feel like you can build from this one?
I think so. I think you always have to start from somewhere, right? And and it starts from one win. And I think like you said, Steve, in this game, I mean, I thought it was a well played game on both ends in regulation. Both teams battling. California's a really good team, really good offensive team. They beat Carolina, they beat Miami at their place. So again, this is a big game for them, just the way it's a big game for us. So I thought it had like that playoff intensity, like that intensity to the game. And I thought our guys really stepped up, and I'll be honest, I know the weather wasn't great and there wasn't a lot of people there, but the people that were there, that was big for us, especially going into those, last closing moments of important parts of the game. I thought our crowd was really good.
We did see Kyan Anthony play 14 minutes last night. He's obviously been in the headlines quite a bit the last week. Didn't play in the second half against North Carolina, then didn't play at all against Virginia, and then back in the lineup last night for 14 minutes. I know you had said that you didn't really want to touch on the Virginia game with him, but I just want to offer you up an opportunity. Anything you want to say about Kyan or his performance last night, or kind of getting back in the swing of things?
Yeah, I thought Kyan had some really good moments. He made a huge extra, like we call it, one more pass to Nate Kings. I thought that was a great play. I thought I thought he played within what we were trying to do yesterday. And again, he's young, and I know he's confident, and we just gotta keep getting him better. And again, going down the stretch, we need all hands on deck for everyone. So again, every game is a different game, and we talk about that, and we got to get prepared for SMU. But I thought he made a really couple of good plays yesterday.
Well, we will get to SMU here in a moment. Coach, do we still have you? I think we may have lost our connection.
Here.
Oh, no.
Okay,
you're still there. Go ahead, Paul.
I did have a question for you, Coach, because it's funny. This year seems bonkers to me in the outside noise you guys are dealing with. From every way from how a guy eats a sandwich to just social media posts. Are you still able to keep that stuff out?
You know what? I think we've done a really good job. I know, obviously, it starts from me, and I've done the best job that since I've been in this job of keeping that out. And I think if I carry it with me, I think it brings it into the program and the guys. We're still practicing. We're still practicing hard. We still laugh. These guys are still competing. So again, can you block it all out? No. Let's just be real. It's not. It's loud. This is basketball. This is like a big market for college basketball. This is a big program and a lot of passionate fans and the fan base and all of that. And that's what comes along with it. From me, my coaching staff, and everyone, we understand. And I think our guys have done a good job of handling it.
Before we get to SMU, we did want to get your thoughts on John Wildhack announcing his retirement yesterday. I know that you touched on it a little bit in the post-game press conference last night, but your reaction when you heard the news and your reaction to the news in general that John Wildhack is stepping down at the end of the year.
He talked, before the announcement, and then, I just wished him the best. I thought he did a really, good job in a challenging time. I know everyone thinks they know what's kind of have an idea, but they really don't. The way college athletics has just changed in this last, 7 years or 5 years with the NIL component and just the way programs are being built and what they need to be supported. I think, he did a really, he was there every day, and he was in the fight. Obviously, he gave me an opportunity, so, I just wish him well, and I was very thankful to be under his leadership.
And now you move on to SMU, and as you said, looking to try to build upon this now. Big win last night over Cal. You get another team that's in the middle of the pack in the ACC. If you could start stacking wins, you improve your seeding for the ACC tournament. What stands out to you about this SMU squad that you're going to see on Saturday?
Boopy Miller. He's a handful. I know he may be short in stature, but he's a big part of. He's one of the best point guards in our league. He's been that way the last couple of years. They're athletic, they're strong. Obviously, a very good offensive team and defensive team, high scoring team. So we'll have it'll be a fight. This is all these games now, which when you have the way the ACC is now, and I try to really, I think that's where you see how guys really get engaged. All of these things are coming down to quad 2, quad 1. You string a couple of these games together, and you're right back in the mix. If we're still a quad 1 for people, that lets our guys know, like, hey, we got to handle our business. If we handle our business, then we can pick our heads up and see where we're at. So again, this is going to be, playoff intensity, a big fight again.
You brought up Boopy Miller. After dealing with Cal's point guard last night, does that help you guys get prepared in going into the next game?
It gives us a little bit. It gives us an idea of having a guard that is very ball dominant, that's crafty, that can maneuver around the court in traffic, without traffic. I think Boopy, shoots more threes than Day, but it gives us an idea, and I think our guys, we have, our older guys, they know Boopy, Starling and Nate George, they know who he is, so they're very familiar with this game.
I say it's a big win over Cal. I feel like at the very least, that takes the whole ACC tournament situation off the table, right? About whether or not you're going to qualify. Like, that is over and done with. You know that they're going to go to Charlotte. And now you hope that they can build on this moving forward. They've got SMU next, a team that's just above them in the ACC standings. They've got 6 wins in conference. Syracuse has 5. And at this point, listen, are you going to earn an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament? Barring a miracle, no. Can you improve your seeding, though, and put yourself in a better position going down to Charlotte with a win on Saturday? Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, if you not playing on Tuesday would be an improvement from last year. So it would be, yes, right. So every game's important to the players and the coaches and everybody but the fans that have checked out.
Yeah, and they played like it last night. Like the game mattered, like the outcome mattered, and they got a very, very important win for them. And now let's see if they can carry that momentum into Saturday and SMU. On to lacrosse now, and everybody's looking forward to this game tomorrow. Number 1 versus number 2. A pair of top-ranked teams in the country in town. The North Carolina women will play Syracuse at 2:30 in the afternoon, and then at 6 o'clock at night, it's number 1 Maryland, number 2 Syracuse. On the men's side of things, we had John O'Derna on the show today, the defensive coordinator for the Orange, and we asked him for his impressions and his assessment through the first 2 games on how the defenses looked to him.
It was a good start to the year. We played, in my opinion, 2 very quality opponents, 2 NCAA tournament teams from the past few years. BU holding them to 6 was exciting. They have some really good players, including Timmy Shanahan, who was named the best freshman in the country last year, and Riley Figueres did a great job defending him. But as a group, we were pretty happy with the effort overall. It was their lowest goal scored in about 3 years. So Anytime you can do that, you feel pretty good. And obviously, it being first game of the year, there was a lot to work on. And where St. Joe's presented a nice opportunity was schematically a very similar team, with the 10-man ride stuff and then offensively. So we kept talking about it was a great opportunity to show growth from week 1 to week 2, and I thought we did that. I was much happier with the performance against St. Joe's. Again, a team I think is a really quality team. They lost to Duke 11-9 last year, and that was something we reminded our guys of quite often. So I thought our guys did a really nice job. Riley Figueres shut out their top player who scored almost 50 goals last year. Billy Dwan had a tough assignment. Our long stick middies had a tough assignment, and our short stick stood up to the task. And when we didn't, Jimmy McCool was there on the back end to help us out. So overall, pretty happy. We talk about our 7 versus their 6, and we've done a good job of that in the first 2 games.
Yeah, you mentioned Jimmy McCool in net, played 3 quarters and had 10 saves, just gave up the 2 goals. How have you seen him and his game kind of grow and evolve since he's been here? And I guess, in what ways has his game gotten better since he first arrived at Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy last year was a first-time starter, which presents its own challenges, especially at a place like Syracuse where you have the most eyeballs in the country. So, I thought Jimmy was up for the task last year, just like we knew he would be. And, now after a full season of playing, his confidence is really high. He's super patient. I know he's worked a lot on his mental game with Coach Gate and his visualization and kind of his breathing and how he approaches being between the pipes. There's obviously a lot to it. Goalies are a different breed. And it's been really cool to watch just his maturation just with his approach and professionalism. And then ultimately it's obviously translated to really high level of play. He's just very patient in there. I might have to do a pulse check on him at times in practice because he's so calm in the goal.
It's a new season, and with a new season, especially in this day and age of the transfer portal and whatnot, there are inevitably new faces. Who are some of those new faces on your end of the field that fans should be aware of?
Sure. I mean, if we're talking transfer portal, the only guy we brought in was Dante Bowen. He was a defensive midfielder at Ohio State the last 4 years. And that group for them is the strength of their team. So to get a guy that had a lot of experience, that's a bit older, had played in the Big Ten, but also had really strong relationships with the guys in our program already through box lacrosse in the summer. He's from Canada, so he had some good relationships with a few of our Canadian guys and the Spalina boys. So that's always a nice fast track to getting comfortable and not tainting a really great culture that we feel we have. So he would be the transfer. Obviously we have some new faces in terms of guys that are playing. Jaden Kittleberger is a freshman. He was the top D-Midi recruit in the country. So we were excited to add him to the mix, and he's getting his feet wet and learning the college game right now. Vinny Bolanino is a guy that was a freshman last year. And when we had some injuries down the stretch, played short stick D-Midi for the first time in his life for the last 4 games, which was a big assignment as a freshman, playing out of position with the final 2 possessions against Princeton in the quarterfinals, playing in the semifinals out of position. He's moved back to his natural position and has been a real game changer for us that I think will just continue to become a household name. And obviously another newcomer, Joe Filardi, we're trying to get him back lacrosse under him a little bit. He spent 2 years off getting ready for football, so just getting his feet under him has been fun to see. And I think once he really gets back into lacrosse shape, he could really take off and be a big impact player for us.
You mentioned Joe, and we obviously remember him from the football season. How much does that help or hurt if he's playing another sport? As you said, lacrosse shape, it's different than playing football. But are there also benefits to him, competing in a different sport? How do you feel about that as a coach? When a guy is kind of splitting his attention between 2 different sports.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I get asked to do recruiting panels all the time, and I encourage people to do multiple sports. Again, I think it just helps your athletic IQ. I do think there is maybe not from a skill perspective, but there is an game prep, roles, different types of roles that you play. I got to imagine that getting rushed by Notre Dame's edge rushers in an empty set will only help him when he has to do a one-on-one with a Maryland midfielder if that time comes. I just think just preparation for a game, it sometimes can be better than even just practice when you're out of season. So I'm all about athletic IQ. I like to say our defense should feel like pickup basketball at a really high level in terms of our communication, but being able to flow and play. And I think playing another sport can only help with that.
I really like that answer. Great stuff there. Let's turn our attention to tomorrow, and such a highly anticipated matchup between number 1 and number 2 in the country. You know these guys awfully well. You just saw them last year in the Final Four. What makes Maryland so difficult to defend? What makes them so good offensively?
Yeah, they're a really disciplined team. I think, they play methodically at times, but they're also willing to play fast. We've seen that. They've scored multiple goals on the first shots of possessions last year. They scored some transition goals on us. I think they're an extremely opportunistic team. And they're going to pass up a B every time for the A look. So they just know what they're trying to be. This year they're even tougher to defend. They brought in Yale's two best offensive players, who combined for 11 points in their first game. So the task only gets a little bit tougher. But that's what this is about, right? At the end of the day, it's February lacrosse. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m., there will be a winner and a loser, and both teams will continue on with their goals for the season, just like it was last year when we met in February and then met again in the Final Four. So it's a great opportunity for us to learn a lot about ourselves. There will be plenty of mistakes. There will be plenty of great plays, and we just got to learn how to ebb and flow and roll with it, and just keep trying to win the next battle.
Is there something to be said as well for playing in a postseason type atmosphere? There's going to be a lot of people there tomorrow. The women's team plays the top ranked team in the country before you. The place is expected to be jumping and electric. I mean, is there some benefit to playing a game like that and exposing some of the younger guys to an atmosphere like that, even though it's a home atmosphere, as you get ready for what really matters, and that's to be peaking in the month of May?
100%. I think anytime you can expose your guys to that is great. Syracuse is the best place in the country for that. We have the biggest crowds every game and every year in the country. So we talked about it last year when we were in the quarterfinals. They were expecting 10,000 at Hofstra for our game against Princeton. And we talked about we should be really comfortable in this environment compared to our opponent because we see this all the time. So I think anytime you can expose your guys to that environment, it's an adversity and intensity that you cannot simulate at practice and not in certain games, especially on the road at places that are smaller venues. So I think, we were selective about wanting to continue to play this game, especially this early in the year. Our schedule is really tough, but there's a rhyme and reason to it, and it's for that exact reason. It's to expose our guys to high intensity in a way that we just can't simulate otherwise.
Last one for you. As you look at this matchup, what does this game tomorrow ultimately come down to in your eyes?
I think it'll be a game of possessions. They're an elite team in every area. They are a top unit in the country. If you read Inside Lacrosse, they ranked it that way too. They added some real pieces in the transfer portal, both one of the best faceoff guys in the country, a top D midi, a top defenseman, Yale's two top offensive players, right? So they only got stronger from the team that we saw last May. But ultimately, in my opinion, it comes down to possessions. Can we be clean at the faceoff? Can we clear the ball effectively? Can we ride a few back? I think when you look at games where teams have got on the right side of Maryland, they're able to ride effectively as well. So I do think it'll come down to that. And then obviously a little dome magic and the best fans in the country pushing us over the top.
That's John O'Derna, defensive coordinator for the SU men's lacrosse team. Always love having him on. Knows his stuff. Great guest. And this should be a great game tomorrow. It's 1 versus 2. There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. I don't think it's not a be all and end all. If they lose this game, they're going to be fine. If they win this game, though, it could send a statement. They haven't beaten Maryland in a very long time. They've lost 8 straight to the Terps. Psychologically, this could be a really important game for Syracuse moving forward. Yeah,
you're going to feel like you can beat anybody if you beat Maryland.
Or even if you play with them. And I know there are no moral victories, but the goal is to not necessarily win this one, but it's to beat them in May and win a national title. But again, should be a lot of fun. Should be well attended, Paulie.
1993, Steve. This movie has come up a lot in the past 2 weeks on the show. Yeah, 2 weeks. We talked about it at the start of the show. It was released on this day in 1993.
We talked about it at the start of the show.
Right. Yes, in the past 20 minutes. we've talked about this movie.
Groundhog Day.
Yes, it was released on this day in 1993. Man, you might want to go get your memory checked out.
I actually have a cool Back to the Future fact. I'm not going to share it today, but I'm going to give it to you. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.
Lone Pine Malls?
Yes. Did you see it on social media?
Yes, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? I saw the same thing. Did you have any idea about that?
No, but it makes sense. That's very funny.
Okay, now we have to share it now because you brought it up.
When it starts,
I'm finding it.
When it starts, it's a Twin Pines Mall, and then he crashes through that pine when he goes back to the future, and then he comes back and it's the Lone Pine Mall.
Correct. That's exactly what happened. Yes. He knocks down one of the trees, and so instead of 2 trees, there's only one. So when they build the mall in the future, there's only fascinating stuff. We're on the same page. I've been working with you too long. We got to go, everybody. For Paulie, I'm Steve. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.